Mr. Beast winning a world title in AEW because he can't have as bad a frog splash as Snoop Dogg, I suppose.
Right, so my reason that 2023 is going to be even crazier than 2022, which almost doesn't make sense because 2022 will probably go down as the craziest year in wrestling history. But one of the things that is going to come along that people are going to say, oh my gosh, it's like 2022 again, is I'm going to go out there on a limb, I'm going to create chaos, I'm going to hit the crazy button, and I'm going to say that CM Punk will be at WrestleMania. Now, this does have an asterisk next to it because it depends on his tricep injury and how long that takes to heal. So we'll say maybe SummerSlam, depending what happened with that. But we've got 2 nights of WrestleMania. We know that Roman Reigns versus The Rock is potentially on the card. We know that John Cena versus Logan Paul is potentially on the card. And there was a conversation at the end of 2022 where people were going, can you imagine if it was CM Punk versus Stone Cold Steve Austin? And the reaction wasn't, that will never happen. It was just like, oh yeah, maybe it will. So I'm going to throw all my eggs in one basket and say that CM Punk and WWE are going to get back into some kind of relationship, some kind of back and forth, some kind of kiss-a-thon, hug-a-thon, and we'll see him back. And it wouldn't surprise me, given that there is 2 nights of WrestleMania, maybe not this year, maybe the year after that, maybe Punk actually does get to headline WrestleMania finally, which for him and everything he has done in his career, and I'm just focusing on the in-ring stuff, the out-of-ring stuff, it is what it is. And what else could he possibly done? He had a massive WWE title reign. Everything he did at AEW I thought was awesome. He's done all the stuff on the Indies with Ring of Honor, which obviously he talked about. And if he finally ticked that WrestleMania main event box, I mean, what a hell of a career he has had. And the issue he is going to have is that obviously when he did his big comeback promo for AEW, he was like, oh, it's back to wrestling, no more sports entertainment. And then 18 months later, this could happen. This ties into all the other stuff we've talked about wrestling. You can't account for anything. You can't leave anything to chance, right? It's just someone throwing a dice. And then whatever comes up seems to be what happens. But I think it would be pretty good. I think you always have to try and remember we're watching wrestling as fans, right? I know some people like to be loyalists. I'm a WWE guy, I'm an AEW guy, whatever. I think that's kind of ridiculous. I think you should be a wrestling guy. And CM Punk to me is a tremendous professional wrestler, sports entertainer, whatever ridiculous term you want to use. So I just want to be able to enjoy him on whatever promotion that may be. WWE, again, I'm not going to go through it. It's absolutely ridiculous. So I hope that it does happen too. I really, really do. And I can ignore everything else that's gone on because, that's a human thing anyway. That's just people falling out of work. Everybody falls out of work. It's just the way it goes down. But I'm going to throw it out there. I'm going to try and manifest itself. And if it doesn't happen, no one's going to care anyway because nobody listens to me. And if it does, I can be a right asshole and gloat about this till probably at least 2025.
Simon Miller will wrestle in AEW.
Yes!
It's gotta happen. This isn't my take. This has been said loads of times.
Yeah.
He's been saying it himself on Ups and Downs that he's been trying to manifest it into existence. But they've got this British show coming over. He's making loads of friends with people over there. He's best friends with Thunder Rosa now, apparently. He's wrestled for her twice. He's stayed at her goddamn house. This has to happen. He's having back and forth with people on Twitter. Was it Nyla Rose? Was it that promo where they went the why? Here's why in the middle of the goddamn promo on Dynamite? It has to happen, whether it's on Dark or Dark Elevation or Rampage, I don't really care what it is, but when they come over to the UK, they have to get some heel to just beat the crap out of Simon Miller. Just anything, get Nick Comoroto or someone to come in and beat up Simon Miller. Anthony Ogogo.
Ooh!
Anyone. It just has to happen. The amount of signs and stuff that's in the crowd, the pop, the pop's either going to be absolutely incredible or loads of people going, who the hell is that bald asshole?
Yes!
But I'm here for it, and either way, it would be incredibly entertaining. It has to happen.
Simon Miller versus Jeff Jarrett. Book it,
yes!
Well, it's a high bar, but one company, if you ask me, that just isn't crazy enough is AEW. Very calm, normal company, particularly in September of this year. But you just think about Tony Khan, what he's got on his plate. He seems to be managing quite well. A lot of spinning plates. He's got Fulham Football Club, of course. He's the Jacksonville Jaguars, of course, in the NBA. Definitely a basketball team. He's got a data analytics firm, I understand. He runs AEW, Ring of Honor, all of that stuff. What that man really needs is even more on his plate. And that's why in 2023, to make wrestling even crazier than 2022, Tony Khan is going to buy Impact.
Oh, mate, yeah.
Why the hell not? Why the hell not? What do you get? The man who has everything in wrestling? Even more, baby. It would be the most demented, perfect, insane, bad idea that Tony Khan could possibly do. I'm not for the shrinking of wrestling. I'm not for everything being consolidated under one or two owners. I think that's the reason that mainstream wrestling in America was not great for so long was because of monopoly. So please don't take this seriously, the world. But Tony Khan buying another wrestling promotion, somehow having to write 2 more hours of programming every single week, suddenly he's got 50 more wrestlers that only get on the YouTube shows. Sometimes they show up on Rampage and lose in 5 minutes, then they go disappearing again. I think it would be very funny for us, not for the wrestlers. It'd be really bad for them. But yeah, Tony, buy Impact.
My prediction for next year is not a fun one, it's actually kind of a sad one, and that's Vince McMahon in the WWE Hall of Fame. There's a lot of talk right now, as I speak in fact, about Vince trying to muscle his way back into the company, so hopefully this doesn't pan out in a weird way, but I don't think that's going to happen. I'd like to think not. That being said, the people in charge of the WWE right now aren't afraid to acknowledge Vince, I think. You know, his merchandise is still for sale, for example, and Stephanie came out on TV to get everyone to cheer for him the week of his resignation amidst all these allegations, which is obviously disgusting. And I think it would be, for them, a neat bow on the whole thing to put Vince in the Hall of Fame. Vince, more than any other person in the world, has lived in the WWE bubble. You know, I enjoy the WWE Hall of Fame. I recognise it's not a real sporting Hall of Fame. It's just WWE's version of wrestling. And Vince probably has said before that he doesn't want to be in it. We know he doesn't even like to be thanked in speeches at Hall of Fame ceremonies. I don't know if he'd necessarily show up for the Hall of Fame if he was inducted. You might just get a bunch of people doing different speeches on him. That being said, do you think anyone in the world cares more about this fake Hall of Fame than Vince McMahon? I would doubt it. So I think, despite everything, it's probably quite important for him to be in that Hall of Fame. Whether it's after he's dead or whatever, but I think it's going to happen sooner rather than later, sadly. The Hall of Fame, not his death. That's morbid.
2022 will probably forever remain the craziest year. It's the year that Vince went, so it's just never going to get any crazier than that. So it's probably not going to be as crazy as that. But I think Brandon Cutler is going to be the next cult hero babyface in all Elite Wrestling. And I'm going to tell you why, right? Okay. The Elite are going to do something with a stable war in 2023, okay? And I think, looking at the template set last year, that's going to involve Anarchy in the Arena and Blood and Guts, right? What the Elite love to do is tell twists. There's absolutely no other wrestling act on the planet better than sort of convincing you one thing's going to happen and then a split second later, the other thing happens, okay? I think the biggest twist they've got on their sleeve, right, is that in the faction war, and it could be against anyone, they're going to have to rely upon Brandon Cutler because Hangman Page isn't quite ready to come back. And the whole build is, Cutler, are you kidding? Brandon Cutler. But the twist is going to be that he's going to get a bloody massive juicer, he's going to break the Muta scale, he's going to pound his chest, he's going to do something awesome like Canadian Destroy Brody King off the bleachers and through a table. Like, I genuinely think that he's going to do something amazing this year as a reward for what an absolutely delightful Scrooge that he is.
Look, after the year we've just had, how is anything ever going to be seen as crazy or impossible ever again? We've had Stone Cold Steve Austin come out of retirement, Vince McMahon retired and like in disgrace and all that horrible stuff. Triple H now runs WWE. Like CM Punk set fire to AEW. Nothing is going to be seen as crazy. But if I've got to choose something that could be even crazier that could happen in 2023, well, for me, Triple H's forbidden door is slowly creaking open, isn't it? Because we've got Shinsuke Nakamura is going to Pro Wrestling Noah to fight the Great Muta. You've got the never openweight champion on WWE programming at time of recording. I don't know if he's lost it at this point, but that's been referenced a lot. They've talked about Bullet Clubs. All these different things seem to be happening. Mickey James came into WWE at the start of the year with the Royal Rumble. Why not have something even crazier than all of this? I know Sasha Banks is potentially going over to New Japan. That could be some stuff that could go on there. Why don't we get somebody else in return? Maybe Will Ospreay versus Roman Reigns in the second, third main event of WrestleMania. I don't know, some other event down the line this year. Have some huge New Japan Pro Wrestling star, Okada, coming over to WWE. Why couldn't that happen? I mean, there's already been a bit of back and forth there, a bit of negotiations going on between the companies with this whole Good Brothers, Carl Anderson thing. So the talking has started. Maybe the talking could lead to an incredible thing there in a New Japan Pro Wrestling star coming over to WWE, and then sooner rather than later, an AEW star comes over, and then we have the wrestling war to end all wrestling wars on television for all of our entertainment and joy. It's going to happen.
Wrestling's going to be even crazier in 2023 because when it just seemed like there was nobody else that could shock the world upon appearing on an unfamiliar stage, 2022 gave us Cody being one of the first to cross this new divide in pro wrestling. It gave us Steve Austin returning from what we assumed was gone forever. It gave us Saraya returning from an injury that we long thought she could never recover from. But in 2023, AEW will be all about the money because Shane McMahon will skip and hop and step and alley shuffle his way all the way onto the AEW Dynamite stage. You pick which tunnel he comes out of because fans seem to receive him as a babyface, even though he's been a lifetime heel to me. Look, nobody knows what it's like to be the moneyed, pretentious son of a rich, weird guy more than Tony Khan. So he already relates. He's already in Shane McMahon's headspace. It's going to be a talking point, the likes of which we've not seen in years. The idea of a McMahon appearing on the Tony Khan wrestling show is going to be shocking in and of itself. But think about the business logic. It's going to be a talking point for weeks. AEW Dynamite is going to be the hot button issue in all of wrestling. Shane McMahon is the guy that left his own family business when other family members seemed to be taking it from him. Who were those family members? It was Triple H and Stephanie McMahon, who are now in charge in WWE. Triple H and Stephanie McMahon. There is no obvious role for him anymore. This was the man that was fired by his own father before his own father resigned in disgrace. Shane McMahon has never been further away from WWE, ergo he should try the competition. And there is good business rationale. In 2016, it wasn't just pops that greeted Shane McMahon, it was the cha-ching of the cash register when thousands of tickets were sold for WrestleMania 32 upon his return. Tony Khan is probably going to lose in 2023 those pay-per-view buy rate things where 1 year tops the next year, top the next year. Not if he just invests in money. Money makes money makes money makes money. Shane McMahon versus whoever you like. I don't know, Big Bill, Kenny Omega, both members of the Young Bucks. It looked like he could take on FTR. Remember when FTR were a stable with the Revival with Shane McMahon? Maybe he wants a bit of LTST with them. Shane McMahon walking out on any Dynamite or Rampage stage is going to be the biggest yet of all the Tony Khan shock signings. And I can't wait to see the press scrum after his debut match.
What's in Tony Khan's lockbox?
What is it? What is it? Tony Khan's lockbox? I mean, right now it's just a bunch of Ring of Honor wrestlers we've never heard the name of. But nonetheless, book it. Give us the payoff to the stories we never got given the satisfying answers to. Shane McMahon is all elite. Like, start photoshopping your graphic now because it's happening.
Well, 2022 is obviously absolutely insane. You got, well, all the things that happened. Logan Paul was Rookie of the Year. Stone Cold Steve Austin returned to the wrestling ring, which we all kind of hoped for. And we thought, is he going to be able to do anything? Yeah, he took a suplex on concrete in about 5 minutes into the match. And Action Bronson and Bow Wow became All Elite temporarily. So for me, next year it's about championships, basically. I would not be surprised if one of these three people become a world champion in 2023. Stone Cold Steve Austin, one of the few people you might think that WWE would allow to beat the Tribal Chief. Logan Paul, like after the year he's had this year, anything is possible for that guy. And considering the way things are going, bollocks to it. Let's have Mr. Beast winning a world title in AEW because he can't have as bad a frog splash as Snoop Dogg, I suppose.